Good morning. We've had some requests to show off our little utility grid here, and while it's far from being done, I thought I'd take some time and show you guys around the outside and what's going on in the inside. Just yesterday we got the diesel tank set. This will provide fuel to the generator inside and our heater for winter to keep the place warm. Also got some skirting around the pump house. That'll keep the breeze out of there during the winter and hopefully keep the well house a little bit warmer. Come around to the front here. And I haven't skirted the front edge here yet. I am gonna bring an excavator in, and I got a trench from the well house over to the cabin for power and water. That hasn't been done yet, but as soon as that gets done, we'll go ahead and finish the skirting on the front, put some stairs on it, make it a lot easier to get inside, but we'll take you inside and show you around. So our pump house contains our power and our water grid for our cabin, and we'll kind of get started here. I'll show you where it starts. We have our generator. It's a diesel generator, 240 volt, and that is tied into our inverter chargers, which will then charge our batteries. Just a Kubota generator. We can get about 7 or 8 hours on a tank of fuel out of it. But it takes about 4 hours to charge up our batteries from about 20%. So we get about 2 charges out of a tank of fuel. This will be tied into the fuel tank on the back of the well house. But we just got that set yesterday, so I haven't got that tied in yet. And that's a 275 gallon tank. I'll go ahead and show you guys what we're doing with the inverters here. So our generator ties into these 2 inverters here. And there are 120 volt inverters. Each one of them is tied into the generator through these lines here, and these act as inverter chargers. So not only will these take the DC voltage from our batteries and convert it into usable AC voltage for our cabin, but it will also allow us to take the AC voltage from our generator and go ahead and turn it into DC voltage and charge these batteries up here. So they're 2 inverters, they're 120 each, and then they are coupled as a split phase system. So I can take that 120 and turn it into 240, so we can run our well pump, washer, dryer, any other 240 volt appliances in the house. Coming in, so these inverters then go into a distribution block, and that's what this is right here. It's just a fancy distribution block. We have a shunt in the middle that monitors how much power is coming into our batteries and going out of our batteries. That is tied into the touch screen up here that will show us our battery percentage. Currently we're at 62%. And that's all tied into a wireless, it's like a little router essentially, that I can VPN into and see our system on my phone. On the far wall here, we have the solar charge controllers. I don't have solar panels hooked up yet to them, but they tie into our distribution block. And once I get the panels tied into those, our batteries will be able to be charged off of the solar panels and not only the generator. We have a couple battery disconnects here. This allows us to turn off and on our batteries, shut the whole system down if we needed to do maintenance. They are 12 volt batteries, 270 amp hours, but it's a 24 volt system. So the top 2 batteries are in series, the bottom 2 are in series, and then the battery sets are wired in parallel. So we've talked about how the voltage gets into the batteries. It comes back out the same way. It goes through the disconnects, through the distribution block, to our inverters, and then from our inverters, through these two conduits here, over to our electrical box, which we'll go over to now. Here is our breaker box for the pump house here. So all of our power from our inverters comes into the top of this guy, and I'll bring you up closer and give you a look at that. We have a little bit of temporary wiring in here right now because we haven't done our final trenching over to the cabin yet, but I'll give you guys a look at that. So each inverter comes in at the top of the panel here. We have one line on the right, one line on the left. That's my 240 volts. Currently this 30 amp breaker here, that goes out to our well. We have a 20 amp breaker going to our cabin. That currently powers our fridge and our lights in the cabin. That's really all we have running in there right now. That'll be about an 80 amp breaker once we get power trenched to the cabin. And then I have another 20 amp breaker over here that just powers a wall outlet right below the panel on the inside and the outside of the pump house. This is our well set up here. From our electrical panel, goes into a control box. It's a 240 volt well, and it's all tied in via pressure switch to our pressure tank, so everything kicks on and off automatically as we use water. This runs currently our filtered water that will go to the cabin, that we'd use for drinking, showers, dishes, everything like that. And then we also have water for irrigation off of this too, which we don't run through filters, but I'll go ahead and give you guys a look at that. So water comes out of the well, right out of the top, through a check valve here, which is also tied into our pressure gauge and pressure switch. And from there, we run it straight into a sediment filter. This is a spin down sediment filter. I can go ahead and drain it with that ball valve. Long term, that'll be tied into a drain with like a little automatic timer on it. But we only have to drain it about once every 2 weeks. Gets a little bit of sand and silt in there. From there, we come to our irrigation manifold. So I can turn our whole irrigation manifold off with this lower ball valve right here. So for winter, we'll turn that off and drain it. But we have our garden tied in, we have an outdoor hose bib, and that is for a future sprinkler system. Check valve to keep any water from flowing back into our potable water. From there, we go into our pressure tank. Little drain at the bottom there. It is an 80-gallon pressure tank. Out the top here, we go into another check valve. It's clear, so it allows me to see if water is flowing or if there's air in the line. And onto our filter system. This is a whole house filtration system. There's a sediment filter, like a carbon filter, and then an iron filter at the end there. And that goes into what would be our potable water. Currently, it's hooked up to a hose. I put a hose bib in here so I could fill up water jugs or anything else we wanted to drink out of. And then this will run to our cabin. So that's just got a plug in there right now, but that'll be piped out to our cabin through the hole in the floor here along with our electrical, and that'll be trenched here pretty soon in the next month. So I'll show you guys the process of doing that as well. That's kind of it for now on the well house, at least on the inside. There's a few more things we got to do. I still got to insulate the roof, put some sheeting up there. We got to put a heater in here. It'll be a diesel heater to keep it warm during the winter. I have to put some venting in here to keep it cool during the summer. Right now, when we run the generator, we have to keep the door open because it gets hot in here. So I got a fan. I got to install that, put some venting in. But I'll give you guys another quick look around the outside, and that'll probably wrap it up.
Thanks for watching, guys. If you want to know more about the power setup, head over to my other YouTube channel, My Alaskan Project. There I will go into more detail about the engineering behind the system and how the individual components work. And as always, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button.